God. I did it already. I was so proud of myself. I was hitting all the things. I'm like, I didn't forget this. I didn't forget this. First one of the year. No, sir.
I was going to talk shit about us coming in late.
Late? It's 2 minutes.
That's late is late, Bozer. You are a grown-ass adult.
The stream has started. It said starting stream.
Do you tell your kids when they show up 2 minutes late? Yeah, it's fine. It's whatever.
I don't have kids.
Punctuality. Bro, you're a literal teacher? I don't want to hear that I don't have kids.
I do communications. Hi, welcome back to 4 Geeks by Geeks. You're here too.
Where nothing has changed.
New Year, same bullshit.
We did not grow in 2024. That time off did nothing for us.
I don't think we had enough streams to grow in 2024. I think we might have backslid a little bit. You know what? I like Bav. Thank you, Bav. You did your best. And that's all anybody can ask of me except T.
Somebody's got to support you because I can't keep doing it.
I'm Bozer, for those that don't know.
I'm T.
For those that stuck around this long, you're now record holders. Thank you so much for being here. This is our first Geek Out Sesh of 2025, and I'm so excited for this year to, I promise, be better than last year.
That's a difficult thing to do when we set the bar to the floor.
Wow, that's weird. Our guest just left. Just kidding. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. He's in the wings, but we have a great stream planned for you guys. We have an amazing guest recommended by our favorite Cantina 13, the one and only Dylan. Woo! Baf's coming at UT. He's looking.
Yeah, the last time the internet seen me, I was 25 pounds heavier.
You do look thinner. You look smaller.
I don't feel like it. I'm up right now because I ate pizza, so I've retained all of my weight. But
well, you're gonna gain it or lose it. I'm gonna gain it. We're gonna meet in the middle.
But if you gain to the point where we're meeting halfway, you have a lot of life choices you need to look at. I still have 100 pounds on you.
Well, I didn't tell you. I started a fitness routine.
Yeah, you do that every year.
I know, because it's New Year, and that's what you, I think, have to do.
Legally, you're obligated.
Man, yeah. But this comes with an app. I'm tracking my food. I'm drinking like a gallon of water a day, which that's new.
I'm not allowed to track food. I get in trouble. I bought a scale, and I bought both scales. I bought a food scale and an IRL scale, and I got in trouble for both of those purchases.
I had a scale in the bathroom, but I did buy a food scale. I've yet to even take it out of the box because when you buy boxed dinners, you don't need to weigh it because you can just scan the QR code. I
don't know how much pasta you eat. I do, which is why I look like this. But fun fact, you're going to recognize why you shouldn't be eating pasta because the portion sizes that you think, I want you to make a bowl of pasta. Like, this is what an adult should be eating. And then I want you to weigh it. And you're like, oh, I just ate a family of 4. And you're going to feel real bad about yourself.
Well, I do always feel inadequate whenever you order pasta at a restaurant and it comes in basically a platter and I eat like what feels like a portion. And then my friends will lean over and be like, did you eat anything? That's American food sizing for you.
I don't have that problem. I see people like, you ate all of that? And I'm like, oh, that's what we're doing today? Thanks.
You woke up and chose violence? Oh, yep. Cool.
Yep.
But if this is your first Geek Out Sesh, thanks for being here. Feel free to join the chat because whether you're watching it back live after on YouTube or you're joining us live here on Twitch and YouTube, we usually do these every Monday night at 8:30 Eastern Standard. But today,
usually do these.
You know what? We have to set some sort of precedent. Don't cut me off at the knees. We're starting a new year. Let me lie to the internet, T.
You know what we won't be doing this on? TikTok.
Good. No. But if you're live here in the chat on this special Sunday edition, then shout out like Alex in the chat, a new follower, Witch Rising. Welcome
in, and welcome
Thank
to
you,
the
Witch.
Discord. I post a lot of stupid shit in there, so prepare yourself.
Yeah,
it's
go
usually
ahead.
me saying books like 1984 are overrated and overhyped, but
I mean,
I
I'd have
pissed
to
a
read
lot of people off by saying that. I've had so many conversations about 1984. I'm like, you can't have that opinion. And I'm like, and you're wrong.
And neither can you.
Just read Animal Farm. Same fucking story, but shorter. Save yourself the time.
Because how many books are you planning on reading this year? As I lean over and turn my space heater off because it's boiling in here.
I don't know. Ideally, I want to say one a week, but I don't think that's realistic because I am doing Way of Kings next, and that's a 1,200-page book, and the audiobook is like 65 hours.
I'm reading Way of Kings.
I did Animal Farm 1984. I'm about to finish Blood Over Brighthaven, and that book's just fucking top tier.
Oh my god, that makes me actually want to keep reading it then, and we can compare notes. Even though you'll finish it in a week, and I will finish
no.
This
I will
time
absolutely not finish Way of Kings. But I've already got my. After I do Way of Kings, then I'm doing Jade City, and then after that I'm doing Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, and then after that I'm doing book 2 of the Dresden series, Great Pearl. So realistically, that'll carry me through February.
Real question: how and when do you read all these books so quickly?
I don't know. Well, so I've actually learned that I am a speed reader, and a lot of people will tell me that I don't properly read because I don't read every word. I've learned as I read, I will like skip out like filler words like and, the, as, and like I just take the key component words and then make my own sentences in my head as I'm reading. But largely, I do a lot of audiobooks, so I usually listen while I'm at work. And that's a whole nother tangent because people who listen at like one speed is insane.
Too slow.
1.3 to 1.5. Anything past that, you're lying.
Yeah, because then their voice sounds jumbled up like they are talking in through a tech weird mic. Did you fail a lot of AR tests as a kid because you didn't read all the words?
No, I failed one AR test in 5th grade, and it still jiggles my bits because it makes me mad because I had to read the book like 6 times because I swear on everything that AR test was. It was a Goosebumps book, and it was asking me what color the fucking shades were and what fucking reasoning was behind. I'm like, bitch, because he needed a descriptor word. That's it. There's no reason the shades being blue is anything other than the shade being blue.
He's writing for children. Like, he doesn't give a shit.
But yeah, I failed one, and it still haunts me to this day. I was actually thinking about that earlier today.
But also, shout out if anybody remembers AR, because you're our people. By the way, speaking of our people, thanks for Umbren being here.
Moose
and
is here.
Moose.
Made stream when? I don't know. We do need to bring that back, I think.
I still have my maid costume.
I want to slap you with a tortilla again, personally.
I love it. Yeah, we need to make some more stupid content like that for our channels, our Instagram. By the way, if you haven't already, go and follow those.
Wrong.
And then answer the question.
It's actual Instagram.
Oh, is it? No, I think it's Insta.
We're good
at our command.
Boom, we got there.
There it is.
No Child Left Behind program.
But the question of the day, I want to hear from the chat, and then we're going to welcome in today's awesome guest and hear from them. So think about this, T, is if you were a TTRPG mini, what is the must-have item connected to your base?
That's just asking me what is my current hyperfixation.
Correct. But I'm going to hear from you and me as soon as we welcome in today's guest. Thank you all for being here and welcoming our first guest of the year. This man is wildly talented, and especially as I'm starting to get into 3D printing, I've got a lot of questions, even though I am light years away from anything that this man can do. But he's taking printing and TTRPG minis to the next level, and you can even have them in your house and part of your campaign and customize and swap them out, and they're freaking amazing. So please, everyone, let me see some clap emojis, shout out from home, scare your neighbors as we bring in today's guest, Nato Late.
See, this time you're supposed to be here.
I'm gonna move. I'm gonna move some people around. Oh, I can't move you. What's happening?
He's highlighting me and making me uncomfy is what he's
This
doing.
won't let me move people. I want you to be here. We're gonna do this here. There we go.
We're professionals.
No, we never.
I don't think anybody's called me a man so many times like today. the man is the man. He's the man. He makes things. He's the man. Well, thank you for having me, guys.
Thanks for coming on, especially several time zones away.
A couple, yeah.
Because here in the Eastern Standard, it's about 3:30, 3:40. What time is it over where you're at right now?
It's 8:40. I'm in Portugal at the moment. So.
Portugal. I'm excited to hear more about the D&D scene over in Portugal. But first,
okay,
I need to hear the question of the day. If you were a TTRPG mini, what is your must-have item on your base?
Well, my answer is going to be the same one for the reason that I don't have tattoos. I would love to have a tattoo, but I can't decide.
They're for heathens. You'll just go to hell.
I can't decide which one.
That's what you got all that skin for. You just throw shit on.
I can't decide what I'm going to use for a desktop screensaver. So how am I going to decide what I'm going to put on my skin for the rest of my life? So the same reason that I can't decide that, the same reason why I'm going to choose for my mini base what I've done 1,000 times for my swap minis. We can talk about that a little bit later. A magnet.
A magnet.
So I can glue anything I want when I want.
I respect the answer.
I've created so many different base items for my modular swap minis that I mean, if you're gonna make me choose one, I'll give you one. But yeah, probably go with magnet application, so I can just choose whatever one of my 72 swap mini bases.
You know, a therapist might say that means something about commitment issues, but we won't go down that avenue.
What must for the rest of the stream? No, I'm proud of you for breaking the question. T, what about you?
See, that's the problem because again, that's like, what's my current hyperfixation? So as I spin around, I've got my model painting, I've got my mechs, I've got my comic books, I've got my regular books, and I think my base would just have to be a vomit of everything geekdom because it's a real problem to my bank account, and Sky's pretty over it.
So your base is standing in a pool of your own vomit.
That's yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
pretty much. I ordered 6 more novels or 6 more expansions to the Dawn of X campaign or saga from 2019, and she's like, "What? Why?" And I'm like, "Because I need to collect all of this." And so I think I've got this week. I think I've got like 15 volumes of X-Men. In my defense, 70% of that was a single eBay bid that I won for $11.
Okay, that's pretty good.
I'm under MSRP, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. I could have bought it IRL in the time it came out, and I've spent less money now than I would have then. I'm just saying.
Okay, that's pretty good. I like your vomit base, though.
I have many times I come to this problem, which I don't know what's usually with these swap minis. I have to choose what item I'm going to put on as a little magnet application, and I always run out of options. I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? He's a rat folk. What am I going to do? I don't know. It's like, I'm going to put a pouch of money. And I've used pouches of money so many times in chests and barrels, and I'm like, I'm gonna forget this time.
See, now you just got to start putting like random things on there, and then if anybody asks, then if anybody asks, like, what does that mean? I'm like, you just make your own headcanon. It's fine.
Vomit is on my list now. Thanks.
You're such an inspiration, T.
I don't know how to start to sculpt vomit, but.
Just very loose, some mild chunks.
Depends on what you had. Obviously,
let
some corn.
Spill over to the side so it really adds to the effect.
Because there always seems to be corn in throw up, even when you haven't had corn in a week.
Ooh.
So definitely corn.
but full corn on the cob. It has to not make sense.
I'm gonna put here chunk. I'm gonna put chunky vomit then.
Chunky.
Chunky.
Yeah. This isn't post night out drinks vomit. This is substantial stuff. Anyway, I think my answer, I think I'd have to have a camera because in what I do day to day, everyone thinks that I'm a photographer at work, even though that's not at all what I am. But I'm the guy that like takes photos, and I'm now staring at a Canon because I'm a camera whore.
I don't think I've ever seen you use a camera.
Yeah.
Ever.
I see too.
No, that's your phone.
Also, I never see you in person day to day.
That's your own fault. Maybe you should travel once in a while.
These are just my excuse to hang out with UT. It has nothing to do with geekdoms. Anyway, Nato, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do as a geek for anybody that is not familiar with Heroes and Beasts.
Okay, so my dream was to sculpt. So I studied sculpture. This is the boring part of my history. I studied sculpture, but in 1994, when I started studying sculpture, I didn't think about what I was going to do for a job. Oh yeah, you're going to sculpt. What are you going to do? And some people here, because I lived in a village in Portugal, they actually asked me if I was going to do like the Catholic statues and the religious statues in the churches. And that wasn't my plan. That wasn't the way I was going. But I did have this dream that I did want to do action figures. And this was in 1994, 1995. So there wasn't a lot of work like that. So I ended up doing a lot of other things, especially working in motion graphics and special effects for a while, for a couple of decades. And then I decided just a few months before COVID, I'm going to try and go back to my dream. So the technology was there, the 3D printing was there, the digital sculpting was there. So I decided to just give it a go. And I created Heroes and Beasts. It's pretty much a one-man show. Everything you see on Heroes and Beasts is motion graphics design, marketing. It's all me. I do work with
that the two of us are redundant and one of us just needs to start pulling their weight better.
No, that's actually not what I'm gonna say. The opposite. I'm just like, whatever you guys or anybody decides to do, get a friend and do it with that person, because doing it alone is not fun.
We actually talk about that quite frequently, and we'll get a little raw here for why not much happened with our channel in 2024. Is neither one of us likes solo content creation, and we're actually several hours away from each other, and that was just our backbone of our excuses. Why aren't we doing anything? Because we just didn't want to do it alone.
Of course.
I'm a needy bitch, and I don't like being alone ever, let alone making content. So that is quite a history. I love that you. Okay, let's start from the beginning. When you were a kid, little baby Nato.
Yeah.
You wanted to be a sculptor. What first made you want to even pursue
I didn't want to be a sculptor when I was a kid. I used to like drawing, and I don't know. You guys are a little bit younger than me, but I was born in '77, so I'm old as dirt. Actually, like the world was black. Well, it wasn't black and white. The colors were coming in.
I told you that in confidence.
He thought the world was black and white once as a kid.
Not once. It was several years.
He's the one that's. I didn't say he said it. So. But if anybody, do you guys remember a world without internet or internet?
Yes, I do.
No.
I was born in 95. So when you said you were talking about 1994, I was like, I'm -1.
Wow, it was boring as fuck. I mean, really, we had so much time, and we didn't really know what to do. We used to like torture each other and throw stones and sticks and play with lead toys and on top of asbestos tiles. I don't know. We're all around still. I don't know how, but here in Portugal, this was in not 1977, 1988, when I was a kid. there was only 2 TV channels, so I was bored. I was really, really bored. I used to love all the typical '80s cartoons, the He-Man, the Thundercats, and all that
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
And I used to draw all that stuff, and I was lucky that I kind of got good at it. And I was really bored.
So where did your dream come from? I was fucking bored as a kid.
It's
What a
true.
speech.
People say these things like, "Oh yeah, he has a gift." Oh yeah, no, I didn't have a gift. I was bored. And you think, and it's true. A lot of times people think, "Oh yeah, they like super motivated." Yeah, well nowadays I think it's harder to get actually good at something because there's too many distractions.
Sure.
PlayStations. I don't even know if does PlayStation even exist anymore. I don't know.
Yes, they're on the
You're on to
fifth one.
5.
Okay. But there's too many distractions. Internet and social media. Social media we had back in the day was a guy screaming outside to come out and play. And you couldn't you couldn't mute him.
I genuinely think that's funny, though. I've got 2 8-year-olds, and a couple years ago, we took them to the movies for the first time, and my middle child was sitting next to me, and the movie, it was just a commercial, and she turned to me, she's like, "This isn't the movie. What is this?" I said, "A commercial?" She said, "A commercial." Now I was like, "You streamed fucking child. I have failed as a fucking parent. You are watching 15 minutes and you're losing your mind because you don't know what's happening. And I can't blame you because you've never lived in a world. You don't know what cable TV is. You don't know what satellite TV is. You just like, I want to watch this. I speak into my remote and it turns it on."
No, we had movies between commercials.
Shortened movies because they had to be cut to fit in that time frame. Which another embarrassing thing about me, I thought they were cutting the size of the film, not the length of the film.
So yeah, I was bored, and like I said, and I was lucky because I was bored. I had a lot of time, a lot of free time, so I drew a lot. And I got good at it because if you do something long enough, you get good at it. And then someone says, "Oh, you have a gift." I said, "No, I worked a lot for it." And I found out later on when I was 16 or 17, I had a friend of mine that he worked in this little shitty little factory making these little cement molds, like little garden gnomes.
Okay.
And he got this part-time job that he was making these. Actually, he wasn't making them. He was filling up the molds, and then he was just dry brushing them. Later on, when I started painting minis, dry brushing. I did that. I did a few molds back in the day. That sounded weird.
You did a few molds.
I did a few molds. And he said, "Oh yeah, we should try and start our own business." And I'm like, "Okay." We were like 16, and we started doing these little gnomes and these little ashtrays because people used to smoke back then everywhere. And
in public, in restaurants,
everywhere, elevators, everywhere, in airplanes. Now you can't even have water in an airplane, but you could smoke everywhere.
It was a better time.
Yeah. Nobody died. I don't know what happened.
Nobody died back then.
Nobody died back then. They died of natural causes.
What was the natural cause? We don't know. Autopsies weren't things.
Asbestos-led cigarettes. Those are myths.
Those are scary stories you tell at night to scare your children.
Yeah, or commercials. You tell them about commercials.
Oh. All right, so you're making molds of your penis. I mean, of gnomes.
Molds of molds. Molds of molds. And I started actually sculpting the little like wizards and these gnomes on these little like wells or like a little pool, and they sold really well. And they were just made out of cement, painted all, And I found out that it was easier for me to sculpt than to draw. Which is weird because usually people think that, we have 3 dimensions, it's hard. But I have a 3-dimensional way of looking at things, so it's easier for me to sculpt something than to draw it. The 2D
you don't have a smooth brain, is what you're saying.
I don't have what?
A smooth brain. Understood.
What's it like being able to visualize things? That's a real question. I can't, and it's the worst thing in the fucking world.
He literally cannot.
It's not. You don't actually get a picture in your mind and you go, and it doesn't come out like exactly how you plan it. Actually, the fun part is, especially when it doesn't come out the way you plan, it's when you're creating a character. And this is the part that I like the most when I'm sculpting whatever character. If it's for like for example, for D&D, creating a character, and as I'm sculpting certain parts of the character, I kind of imagine what he's like. I mean, if he's got a smile, or if he's happy, or if he's upset, or if he's... And then actually there's a story that grows in my mind of what the character might actually do and be. So, and a lot of the time, and people don't tell you this, but a lot of the time when you fail at something in sculpting or drawing, it actually makes it more interesting, and you can actually incorporate that into the design, and it can actually become a feature instead of a... Because sometimes you got a deadline. I mean, even I have my own deadlines. I have to create these things for my Patreons, for my manufactured trials. I've got time that I need to work on this, and it doesn't always turn out the way I want. So sometimes it's a feature.
And that's actually a very, very good way to remember that failure is both a learning tool and something beneficial. Because like, as we were just talking about with like the base thing and talking about what are we going to add, because those little characteristics, those little things that you add to those little things, even if they don't have a canonical reason, when you look at those types of things, you can now create the story of why that happened. So just hypothetically, you create something and you leave a divot into the cheek of one of your characters. Okay, why does that character have that divot in their cheek? What happened in their childhood that caused that to... What damage happened? And that creates a story, that creates a narrative, and it just expands into this whole new big thing. For that one little thing that technically was a fault, that was an error, is now created this whole universe of things that now exists inside just this one little hiccup that took place.
Yeah, I didn't make a mistake. I made a choice.
Well, I actually, one of the things that I saw this documentary about the creators of He-Man from Mattel. And I was fascinated. I mean, as a kid, I was obsessed with He-Man. That was my hero. Actually, it's the only 3D figure that I have on my desk every day, all day.
Oh, nice. That's a classic.
And you think that I would have so many figures everywhere, but no, I really kind of need to put them all away. So I have like a clean.
Is that my problem? That might be my problem. I've got these fuckers everywhere. On my desk alone, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 14 of them. 2 of them I'm actively still painting, and they've just been sitting there staring at me, wanting to know when they're going to be fucking finished.
Well, when I'm creating something new, I just want to forget what I've already done, and I want to move on to the next. Because in my experience, and this is the way I look at sculpting or creating art or whatever, your best work is still to come. So whatever you worked on, it's gone. I mean, you learn more from your mistakes in life and in sculpting also. This is like making this stream a bit boring, but you need to make mistakes even in your art to learn things. And because if you do exactly what you're planning, then it's no fun.
Mans is actually making me learn and grow in this new year. What the fuck? This is not what I signed up for. I'm actually out here. I'm going to have to take something from this conversation and grow as an individual.
Well, I make toys, but I'm very profound. It's not a game to me.
It's his life.
The clippability of just this last minute is so incredible, and I'm very excited for it.
I make toys, but
on that button.
I don't make toys. I fabricate dreams.
The wild part is you're saying that with a sense of jokingness, but the realism is that you 100% are. Because the likelihood that all of that creativity originates from that childhood wonder of creating those types of things in their own world because of something that was sculpted and created, handed to them. Like Rescue Heroes was my thing as a kid, and I didn't realize I was playing TTRPGs until I was much older, because I would realize I'd set up entire scenarios for like these heroes to play in and interact and make their own stories to live and involve in. And it all originates from, oh, here's this toy that is now your hyperfixation. That is now your childhood and that thing that's going to haunt you for the next 30 fucking years.
The He-Man's still on your desk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For that same reason.
Actually, I don't know if one of the guys that actually worked on He-Man, generally, he inspired me to be what I am today and what I do today. And not only that, I worked for, like I said, I used to work in motion graphics. I spoke to you guys. I worked in special effects motion graphics, and I did a lot of boring commercials, a lot of ads, and I did a lot of Christmas campaigns for toys for local supermarket chain that we have here. And they would send us the toys beforehand so we could film them, and like the dolls, the talking dolls, and the flying helicopters and whatever. And they were all horrible. They were useless. They were cheap. They were all broken down. Like the doll, you press the button, and she would, instead of saying "I love you," she'd say "You'd be like, I don't know.
How often do you practice that? Because that was way too realistic.
First time.
You do this for all the streams, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Reused material.
I've been rehearsing that voice all week.
This is gonna be a niche joke, but this is gonna hit.
And then my boss would tell me, "Oh yeah, we need to." I would tell them, like, these toys are horrible. I mean, are they selling these to kids? Because they're horrible. I mean, are these defective, or are they going to be like better ones? No, they just
Right.
like this. I'm like, I mean, we have to make the commercials really good. And I found myself lying to children.
Back when lying to children was allowed and encouraged. Now you can't. Now the internet tells them the truth, and you're like, well, shit, now I'm the liar.
Now we just put porn sites printed on the back of Wicked dolls.
What dolls?
The Wicked, you know the Wicked movie?
Oh, yeah.
The big thing, they made these like basically Barbie dolls of the characters, and instead of putting www.wickedmovie.com, they put www.wicked.com, which is a porn site. And that made it through how many proofreads until they made it into children's homes?
Until that one intern was like, I was just on that website. Do I tell somebody?
Yeah. Copy pasted.
Well, this is a true story according to that documentary from He-Man. Was when they were giving out the names, because it was He-Man, Moss Man, Birdman, everything was something man. And when they came out with
you at the start of the stream.
Sorry?
Like you at the start of the stream.
And then Man.
Man.
Like the sculptor man. And when they wanted to create the name for Merman, they decided that to go first of all with Seaman. And I'm glad I had a merman when I was a kid. I'm glad they changed his name. It would have been weird to get Seaman for Christmas.
You're getting bullied so hard on the playground if you got a Seaman for Christmas.
You get all the kids on the playground. I want to be He-Man. I want to be Moss Man. I'm Seaman.
You're gonna be Seaman. I don't want to be Seaman. Not again.
I'm tired of being Seaman.
Should we put a trigger warning on this stream, Fred?
Oh, for sure. We are so far past that point.
It could have been Ocean Man or Atlantic Man, but yeah, Merman. They changed it to Merman. So yeah, so yeah, I was there lying to kids, not at this level though, but I was just basically telling them that, well, buy this, it's really awesome, and it really sucked. So when I started making my own miniatures and my own business, I really did want to make something that people would enjoy. And that's one of the part, at least to the part where I have my physical store on Etsy. I really do enjoy when people give me the great feedback that they love the minis. And it's more than just a business when it comes to knowing that somebody bought this for their husband. And it's going to be something that's going to be in his adventures, in his games, and it's going to...
And he can have that same childlike wonder playing with your toys, essentially the same way that they probably did as a kid.
Yeah,
that's really cool. Like you are, it sounds like you're overstating it by saying I don't make toys, I make dreams
Well,
come
I
true.
joke. I mean,
But
look,
it's true.
I usually do say when things go bad and I do have a problem with the shipping or something, and I don't. I mean, because sometimes, I mean, we humans sometimes we don't
Right.
do things with the quality that. I mean, if anybody sees my miniatures, they'll know that swap minis are like 50 parts per character with magnets and all that junk, and because I'm just tired of all the shit, all the little. You can't imagine how many little shoulders and hands I find in my pockets and in my shoes. It's like Lego. It's like
He's
Lego
talking to a
land in here.
Warhammer guy right now, so trust me, I fucking get it.
So yeah, so when something goes wrong, and I do say, okay, I'm just trying to fix this, and I used to work with my brother in this aspect. He used to help me with the shipping, and he used to stress out, and I used to say, well, okay, this is a business, this is a product. We do have to take that seriously, but I would also remind him, we do make toys. We're not like curing cancer or anything. So
Right.
we do have to remember that I do create dreams, but I'm not changing the world. so it's like you have to have a balance here.
See, that's the thing, though, is the beneficial part is you don't know, and this is going to go into that whole butterfly effect theory, is you quite literally could be, though, and I'm a big follower of like biocentrism, which is like you are the most important aspect of your own universe. And so at the end of the day, while you may not greatly impact the larger like macro aspect of the universe, everything you're doing, there's no reason to not believe you're not changing the micro version of somebody's universe on a regular basis, because you never know if that one thing that somebody got or received that came from you doesn't turn into their new livelihood of them replicating that same thing, of trying to also improve the world or also try to make their dreams and all those things, all based off because like, oh, hey, I found this guy on the internet, he made this himself, and like that teaches that individual like, oh wait, I can just make things and this can like physically come to life. It's just one of those great, as much as we're joking around here, is it's very, very cool to see an individual who is living their passion, because in today's society that's not a super common thing, unfortunately. And so not only do you get to live your passion, just what we've been talking to you for these last couple hours with Ben, that you do it in a degree that you're actually thinking in such a macro scale that you're not bringing this to the table for an individual. You're trying to bring it to the table for as many individuals as possible, which I think is a very important aspect of it all.
It's very easy to be sucked into the day-to-day and tired of repeating certain processes. It's very easy for you to think, why am I here worried if she has a bra or not, depending on the character. Does she have pointy ears? Does she have the, and also not, and this kind of sounds weird, but the world's changing. The world changes, because I know this because all kinds of people buy my minis, and you'll be surprised. I thought this was a hugely male market, and I was hugely surprised how many women out there, girls, women, I mean, not and non-binary people, buying all these.
They're finally getting representation. Like we're just talking about, everything is man. We're now into a point where we are largely seeing a lot of more female-forward main characters. So getting representation right now is such a powerful thing.
For storytelling, the power of that is amazing. I mean, and you'll look back, and if you go back to the 80s, and especially that time, because there's a lot of original content then, and people like, there's this cult over movies that were made back then, because there were like only 3 movies and 4 cartoons. So yeah, people were obsessed with them. Right. We have a lot more stuff now. But you'd see that in 1977 we had Ripley in Alien. And 1977 or 79, I think. And she's still sexy as hell. She's still amazing. She's badass character, female, empowering women back in 1979. And that's really, really interesting how something like 1979 now is happening, and also other characters in the rest of the history. My point being is, the more diversity we get into characters, the more diversity it gets into the storytelling, the DMs, the gaming, everything changes. It just becomes better and better. It's what happened to the comics over these last few years. Is when they stopped worrying about this, just having characters with superheroes with powers. They started bringing the real life problems into the characters. So yeah, so I really try to do that as much as possible, but it's complicated.
But no,
So-
I think it's a fantastic thing to be able to be involved in that changing of history. Because again, you as an individual might not be a written note in the glossary of the world as this is like talked about on a grand scale. But at the end of the day, somewhere along the scales, you are going to be directly influential into an individual being able to broaden their horizon to a new set of the world based on just what you're doing. And that's something to be incredibly prideful of.
And especially what I love about your minis are because like you keep mentioning these swap minis, and we're going to show them here, and you might have some examples within reach, as well as custom minis of like your specific character hand sculpted. Like you don't understand what that means until like you have a table that you're playing at, and you as a player or DM have a very specific vision of your character in mind. And for so long, we've had to like just make do with whatever was like at the gaming store or whatever was in reach.
The Monopoly parts.
Exactly. I have this old like X-Men board game, and so I threw those in my like mini bag. I'm like, I don't know, Professor X might come in handy. But it's like a dream realized when you can see a mini that looks just like what you have in your mind come to life in your hand at the table. Your other players can see it. And it's almost like some weird form of validation to know that your mind matters, and like this imagination that we all have within our mind matters enough to somebody that they are willing to meet you where that at and help bring your vision that much more to life.
Well, this is something new that I've started, the whole custom minis. Well, it started with basically, I was looking, because like I said, I'm a one-man show. I do everything. I don't have time to be painting the minis that I print and create and everything.
Right.
So I started trying to do collaborations with artists online to get my minis painted and showcased. Some of them were awesome. Some of them were not to the level that I wanted to showcase my work. So I ended up hiring or commissioning actually well-known painters to actually paint some of my minis. I actually have one here. I can show that.
Ooh, I'm gonna make you big.
I can't. I don't think it's gonna.
I always feel like I'm a good
and
painter, and then I see things like that. I'm like, damn, I've still got a ways to go.
Who painted that?
His name is Angel. He's a Spanish. I can then share his profile. I commissioned it. I paid him for this, and it wasn't cheap. And I thought, wow, damn, people are paying like quite a bit to get these painted. And I thought, but no one actually pays that amount to get it sculpted.
Right.
And that was also one of the things that's been annoying me all these years is you get to know the names of these artists that are painting these fabulous minis. Well, I mean, this one was sculpted by me. Okay, well, I'm just saying other fabulous minis.
Yeah.
And you know the names of the painters, but you don't know the names of the sculptors. I mean, all these big brands that are putting out 60 and 70 minis a month for $10 subscription on Patreon. But there's no cult of the artist. It's like, that's not right. That's not right because people, and I actually think they've ruined the market a bit. It's been saturated with all these awesome minis, mind you, awesome. They're not low quality. They're all awesome.
Right.
But it's just made people hoard files. People have been hoarding files for that day that they're going to use that Aarakocra that they bought 3 years ago in 10 different poses with all these weapons. And if only I knew where that file was.
For the character to immediately get killed or completely ignored, and you're like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, so that really annoyed me. When I started getting into this business, I thought, I'm going to be creating, it's going to be really cool. I'm going to get like 1,000 subscribers. And that didn't happen. I didn't put out 40 minis a month. I didn't get the subscription of the amount of subscribers that I wanted for the digital part. And then COVID happened and everybody was confined and, it was all a shit show. And so over the years, I've complained that, and this is why I started the custom minis now. I want to go back to the artist. I want people to get their own mini, and I don't want to worry about the cost. I'm going to put the price that I need, that I feel that is fair. If someone wants to pay for it to get their own custom exclusive, and that mini is theirs. They're the rights to commercialize it if they want, to get it reprinted as many times as they want. I think it's time for that to start happening too.
So talk us through that process. I'm going to go ahead and share your Instagram profile if that's okay, just for a visual aid. But they can come to you for a custom mini, looks exactly like what they want it to. How does that process work on your end?
Okay, I'm going to talk about another thing that might also be controversial. It's the whole situation with AI. Okay, so what happens is, I'm going to talk. Everybody's like, I'm not pro AI and I'm not totally against AI. It's here and it's here to stay. So it's one of those things that we have to deal with, and we have to use it as a tool responsibly. I'm not selling AI products, but I do use, and I do sometimes use AI to help generate pictures that can help me get to the vision of the customer. Instead of me drawing for 4 hours or 5 hours trying to come up with a sketch, as I told you, I have my limitations on the 2D part. If AI can help me get to that picture faster, I will do that. It's just one of the tools that I will use. I will sculpt, I will draw, I will Google images, anything that I can find that will help the client or the client visualize what I'm going to create for them is where I will use AI. But then the process of sculpting, you can actually scroll that picture. You can actually see. Oh, it doesn't have a picture? Oh yeah.
There it is.
In this case, they can just describe by text what the character is, and obviously we live in a world where D&D and tabletop, they still use races. I think D&D actually changed that now. They don't have races, right?
They no longer have race benefits. So it used to be like barbarians would naturally get like a +2 to their strength. They eliminated that aspect. Okay. So now any race can have any racial benefit without the constriction of that race not being naturally predisposed to said advantage.
Are you talking about race versus class?
Well, the race will define if it's a human, an orc, right, or if it's a goblin or whatever. So,
yeah. So they can just describe using as many words as they like to kind of paint the picture of this.
Well, usually very simply, they will say the race. They'll say if it's male, female, or neither, or both, or whatever. And the size, because the size is also important. And people say size doesn't matter, but it does here. If it's 32 millimeters, the amount of detail has to be contained, because if it has too much detail, it's going to be hard to paint. It's not going to see. The 32 millimeter scale, or 45 or 75, whatever size they want, the detail will be created for that scale. I can say the bigger it is, the more detail it's going to have, the more expensive it's going to be. In sculpting, it doesn't really matter how big it is, because I'm going to be sculpting it virtually. Doesn't matter how big it is. It just defines how much detail is going to go into it. So they basically decide all the information, and I will, either through character sketching or other means, try and put it in a picture what they envision. A lot of them already have images. They already have pictures, or they already have images that they either use, or they've Googled, or even themselves have gotten through AI. So it helps me to already have that visual aid, and then I sculpt it. It's that simple.
And you sculpt it virtually. That's really cool.
Yeah. I sculpted I use ZBrush, which is it's not French for ZBrush. No. ZBrush.
Well, now I'm disappointed. I was hoping it was.
I use ZBrush to escape. I thought I sculpt that, and obviously during this process, I can always show parts if I have like um, any problems. Like, oh, what kind of expression do you want in its face, or what kind of pose? Usually, I'll define the pose before I start sculpting. There are other tools to help define a pose. I can even use. I don't have it here. These little models where you can actually define a pose.
yeah.
Like little article. So you can define a pose before I actually start sculpting, because it'll be harder to change the pose once you're going. So, and once that is sculpted, they can either decide if they wanted the file themselves to print, or if they need. I mean, if they needed to print, I just prepare, pre-support it, and get it ready for them to print on their own printer. And if not, if they want the physical mini, then it's just an extra charge for whatever I have to print, depending on the scale and the shipping. So it's basically what you get from Hero Forge, but personalized. Basically, you get the whole control through the whole process for the whole creation process of the mini. The advantage is also I keep the files, so your character in a year changes clothes, changes hair, whatever you. And this is I haven't publicized this yet, but if you change your character in a year, you go back and say, oh, I want to update my character. It's like it's like a Pokemon. It just next level. Yeah. And we can work on that and create the next level version of the character.
That's
and I think
awesome.
that's because that while we were talking that was my first. I was like, yeah. This is just a better version of what Hero Forge has to offer. And as I was looking through your pricing, as I was going through that, and yes, there is going to be a price differential between those two things. But I think it's the in-depth personalization that really is going to make a difference. Because you can do a lot with Hero Forge. Hero Forge has come a very, very long way in these last few years. But it's still that matter of it doesn't have everything. You're literally trying to work on something based on what is there. So if there's something you don't have or you're wanting to tweak or kind of make that, you physically don't have a way of making that happen. So if you have the commission or have the financial ability to make that decision happen to begin with, at no reason is it not, just save up that little bit more to be able to go to the individual you can have conversations with, have a deeper conversation with, get a better understanding of what you're actually wanting to visualize, instead of trying to settle in your own mind to try to make what you can't make happen, when you have the option of, I can just pay just a little bit more, have a one-on-one conversation with an individual who wants, not is going to do this because you're paying me, who wants to bring this thing to life for you. It's that option is there, which I think is fantastic.
And look, obviously it depends on everybody's budget, everybody's pocket. It's not a thing that, in my opinion, it doesn't break any. I mean, most people that are in this will. You guys know there are a lot of people that spend a lot of money on minis and a lot of money on on everything, right? So it's just another service. It's a premium service. And if some people have been shocked by my prices, some have been excited about my prices. So
it's one of those things that you're not going to be coming to you for your very first mini. You don't know if you like the hobby yet. You don't know if you're going to stick with it. You're an individual that, or for somebody that's been like, I've been playing for years. I'm ready to finally showcase my hero who's been adventuring for 10 years. I want to make a true one-to-one replica of my hero so I can put him on my shelf and showcase this is my character that I've gone on adventures with.
And then he dies.
And then he dies. Now you have the character to bury, and you can actually have your closure.
He rolls a 1 and dies. And he says to his dungeon master, please, I paid $1 million for this mini. Can you bring him back to life?
Yep, but it's going to cost you an arm. Well, fuck, now I got to pay another X amount of dollars to get the same model missing an arm.
Find me Diamond Dust and Revivify, and we'll talk.
Can he have a twin brother?
Just give him a scar.
The son's identical. It's so crazy.
Yeah. So that I'm trying it out. I'm seeing how it goes. Also, like I said, the reason is I do want people to have a mini and say, well, this mini that I have was sculpted by this artist. And I do want it to be a thing.
Artists. So that's another thing, is especially in this community, hopefully this community feels more strongly about supporting local and artists abroad rather than just feeding the AI machine and technology. I know that also in this community we're all broke and cheap, so that's a great thing, resource. But for those who are able, like T said, it just takes it another step further, and it's something that you can be proud of. It's not just a mini you're going to throw in a box. Like, you're going to put that on the shelf and you're going to like, look at that before you go to bed and give him a kiss goodnight.
I've got 2 models from Hero Forge. Let me actually go grab those, because it's going to be very important that we're going to be able to see a difference from the model that you just showed versus these. So give me 1 second.
And especially because depending on, like, if I were to order a mini from you, I would want you to print it because I don't have a resin printer. And yours.
So these were
obviously cleaner.
So these were right after that Hero Forge updated their model and were now allowing you to print full color models. And so these are 28. So I think these are going to be a bit smaller than the ones that you just showed. This is my hero Temple, and this is my hero Urok.
Can you bring them closer?
Yes.
Are you sure that's 28? That looks a bit like 32, no?
They might be 32s. I don't know. I got these done a very, very long time ago. And I don't have the best lighting here, so that's not going to help in the absolute slightest. But both of these models, I'm very excited for. I love these guys to death. I think I spent $150 for these. They're not 100% true to scale or true to what these heroes look like in my mind. I drew this guy in real life. I'm like, this is who I want. I want to bring him to the table. It's great that I have these guys. I love that I have them on my shelf and I can remember the adventures I had with them. I would also love to have them one-to-one to what I had originally envisioned when I played these characters. Again, it's great. They're good representations, but they're not one-to-one to who they were in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, look, mind you, I think Hero Forge is amazing. I mean, the possibilities, and even when I create, we can talk about the swap minis in a minute if you want. When I created the swap minis, I even thought about, and I actually spoke to my mini factory about how if they wanted to, because they actually have a modular construction part on their site that isn't very active. Yeah, very hard to find it actually. But they do have a part there. There's a tool that they've ignored it. They don't use it. But they've told me a few times that they are considering upgrading that. It's basically just like a Hero Forge system online. And I have all these characters. I have 72 characters that have 50 parts each, at least. If I had a platform that you could actually pre-build your character, you don't have to get all the parts from one character. You can get all jumbled up. Mix and match. And that's one thing. The whole swap mini idea that I created, sorry, wasn't that you could. I mean, it's a swap mini, which means that you can swap all the parts inside the mini. But the idea was that you could combine it with the other swap minis. So the big idea here is all the holes that they have in because you can swap the heads, you can swap the hands. There's the legs and the torso.
I hate Head 4 with a burning passion, and that's going to haunt my dreams forever now. Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
William Dafoe, Joker looking ass. I hate that.
Well, I'll find another one. Don't worry.
And I'll tell you. I'll tell you something curious about these things because, mind you, when I decided, and if you can zoom into one of the torso parts, the torso there is further up. I mean, he's
over here. Yeah,
the torso is the main part because it has a hole for the head, hole for the back, hole for the chest, holes for the shoulders, and holes for the hands, and holes for the waist. Now, those all take a 3mm by 1 magnet, which if you buy in my store, the magnets are included. You just have to glue them yourself. I had to create the special tool so you wouldn't get your polarizations mixed up because you really have to get the polarizations of the magnets correct. Otherwise, the parts don't glue correctly. And it has a whole video and PDF and pictures explaining the whole process. But I actually had to conceive the idea of swap minis, and I did it in 15 days, where I had to, in 15 days, imagine all the characters that I was going to create for the future, and they all had to be compatible, at least 90% compatible.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine all the human-sized and orcs. They're bigger. The hobbits, the halflings are smaller. But the torsos are all the same. They're all the same size. The dwarfs basically just the legs get shorter, the heads get bigger.
Yeah.
So I had to, in 15 days, imagine all the possibilities that I was going to create for the next few years. And whatever system I created, it's like Lego. I mean, whatever Lego created that day, they had to think it was going to be defined for the rest of the history of Lego. So
Right.
yeah, in 15 days, I only regret not making them a little bit smaller. That was the only problem. But magnets just made it. I had to make them that size.
Yeah, you can only get small magnets of so small before they're like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
About how big are these the swap minis?
Well, it gets complicated when you're sculpting. There are swap minis that got a little bit out of control. I made them a little bit bigger than I wanted to, but they all have a game base, which is 1 inch, and I always try to keep the pose in. I mean, this is not a swap mini. This is a classic version of a swap mini because the swap mini of this dwarf does exist. I just created various versions that you can buy them already in static poses. So yeah, this would be the dwarf, and they're pretty big. They're like a human's about 40, but I always try to keep him inside the 1 inch base. But like I said, mostly people just love them for the swappability and not so much for the scale issue. And you guys know, I mean, D&D people aren't really fussy with their scales. They're like not like Warhammer.
Swappability, I think, is a very, very cool thing to implement when it comes to something for like a TTRPG, because like you said, characters evolve, characters change. And so again, without you forcing them to come to you anytime they want to make a change for their model because something has changed over time, you're giving them the option to Lego and swap out that part because, they no longer carry this weapon, their torso has changed for whatever. You're now giving them the playability to, in real time, swap out to keep that character true to what they had envisioned.
When characters go to the town, they can take off all the weapons. They can walk into
it
the
adds
town
a whole nother level to the immersion that you really get to miss out on.
And I think of it like the villains when like you take them down to a certain number of hit points, but then they go to the next level, and so you can swap out, and rather than just focus on describing how they've changed, even though visually they haven't. They literally
just put a Tiamat on the table and watch them lose their shit.
And I had so much fun, and I still do sometimes. I had so much fun. Every time I created a new swap mini, I try to combine it with an older swap mini. So I start mixing up the parts. So I started making centaurs out of every humanoid character that I made.
Nice.
I mean, I would just put the centaur legs. Or I did one which was a fawn, right? So he has like the goat legs. Mm-hmm. And then I started adding wings from a demon or wings from an Aarakocra, and I started mixing it up. And the reason where is the inspiration for the swap mini? It was Diablo 3.
Okay.
I love Diablo 1 and 2. I'm not even sure I played 1, but I remember that I hated that when we changed the armor, it wouldn't change actually. It wouldn't change on the character. Your character would only change visually if he upped the level, and he would be coherent. But Diablo 3, whatever shit you pick up, is what your character would look. So I remember I had this Nordic helmet, horns, and whatever with a samurai armor, and he looked ridiculous, and I loved it. I thought, this looks so. It's a character that I created out of all this stupid adventure.
I'm glad I'm not the only person that is so involved with, like, if I change, like in a video game, if I change something, if my model doesn't change, I will stop playing the game. Like, if you break my immersion because you can't add enough coding to allow the swap ability so I can see the change happening, I'm out. Your game sucks. I won't negative review it, but I won't play it. Like, it takes me out of a game so quickly.
I would spend hours
playing games.
Especially when I started getting these, like, you know, you get these hacks where you can start changing the visuals. You find I think it was this, after you played it the first time, I think they got like a special cube or whatever that you could change visually, whatever. You could change the
transmogging,
yeah. So I would spend hours just doing that shit. I mean, I wouldn't even play the game anymore. I just like, change the visuals and all, just come up with these really
now I'm
crazy...
just playing Sims.
The amount of time that I've gotten stuck for multiple hours on Character Creator, like, I haven't even gotten to the game, but I'm just like getting the nose and the eyebrow and how height the ears.
Everybody
I love
hit 10 hours on Baldur's Gate 3 because their character creation was so in depth.
Oh, and like Elder Scroll, I remember I spent a whole time with like the distance between the eyes and I'm like,
and now I'm like, I don't know what humans look like anymore, actually.
And then I would start playing, and I think, oh, I am, I have to go pick up something and deliver it. Oh, I'm a pizza boy.
Yeah.
In
and
a
then you never
medieval world.
Camera of your face, so it's like, why did I spend all that time?
You should have spent more time with the mullet.
The back of the head.
Just like, oh yeah.
Right.
So yeah, that was my inspiration, and it went both ways. There are people that love it. And there were people that got it. And Dylan from Cantina, when I told him the idea, he went, wow. And you like can combine them with different characters and you can come up with this. I'm like, dude.
I can picture his ADHD going crazy off.
Yeah, and I was like,
I've spoken with him enough. I can hear the bells.
I'm like, you got it. I mean, finally, I don't have to explain this. And there are other people that are so like, oh yeah, I don't like that. The chest thing doesn't. I know the shoulders. I'm like,
You can't make everybody happy, though. You can't make everybody happy. Everybody's always going to have an opinion. Everybody's always going to have an input. But as long as you're happy with your product.
Well, I am. I'll admit, I'm a bit burnt out creating them. I stopped at 72. I'm giving myself a little bit of a breather on 72 characters that go from. I can give you like a really from humans to dwarves to elves. Hobbits, monks, lion people, rhino people, I don't know, all kind of animal people.
Give yourself a break, though. If you stop having fun with it, this passion project that you're involved in, it's over.
It's no longer passion. We talk about all the time with countless guests on burnout and how important it is to keep that as a valid point of your mind. And we adopt that here on the channel, sometimes a little too close to home and just give up on doing anything for months. But it is so important. And that brings me to my next question is, because you said that you keep your workspace clear of any previous minis, and yet you've somehow created 72 vastly different swap minis, which counts to what, like hundreds of pieces total.
Oh no, it's more than hundreds. It's 72 times 50. It's 72 times 50.
Oh, that's math.
I think it's that 72 exclamation point thing in math.
I'll do
Because
the math.
technically speaking,
I'll do
with
the math.
the swappability
I think
of
it's
things,
3,500 if I'm not times 72.
if I'm remembering the math, I think it's then 72
it's...
times 71 times 70 all the way down is the mathematical. Because I did this with I worked at Red Robin at one point.
Wow.
And I was like, how many combinations of things could you have at Red Robin? And I did the math, and it gets obscene fast.
It's 3,600 parts.
And you said you created that in 15 days.
Oh well, I created the original the first character. I should have started with a female character because they're smaller, and I should have defined the space for the magnets for the smaller characters.
Oh sure.
And I started with a male. The first one was a paladin. Is basically a knight. It's a male knight, and he was my first one. And it took me 15 days to actually construct the mechanism of how every other swap mini was going to be, because once I sculpt them, I have to cut them, and they have to have the same holes in the same places to fit the magnets to. Like I said, I couldn't. Like physics is a bitch, so I couldn't get it 100%, but I'm pretty sure like 90 to 95% of the parts fit. I mean, all the heads fit every character, all the legs fit every character. Just some of the shoulders might be a little bit more complicated, but yeah, you can make up whatever character you want, because like there's wings, there's different kinds of feet, there are constructs. They're not only organic, they're monsters. There's a whole bunch of them. There's a whole bunch of animals. And like I was joking in the beginning, but I wasn't joking. The amount of times that I had to come up with an original idea for what item I was going to include because the game bases, because they come with what I call, let me see if I have any here. I know. They come with a display base, so you can keep them at home. And they also come with a game base. And so you can just take it off the display base and put it in your game base and take them to the game. And then when you get home, you can just put them on the display base. And so the display base and the game base, they have 3 magnets, which usually are enough for the feet, and 1 magnet at least for you to put a display item. So yeah, so that goes to my original answer. What would I choose? A magnet, so I could put all 72 items that I created for all.
He was playing the long game. He's like, it's going to sound stupid at first, but I'm going to make it come around.
I hold the whole
This
circle.
man understands storytelling.
But if I had to choose one of them, I would choose from my swap mini. What is the 34, 35? I don't know. 35? No, not 35. 36. It's a rat folk. He's like this little rat character, and he has one of those dynamite
plunger
demolition. Yeah, demolition boxes. That's the one. And you could just use that in any situation. Like, oh yeah, you have to pay for your beer. Oh, you rolled a 1.
That's a good one, actually.
But where do you
to
draw the inspiration for these countless of characters and pieces when you are constantly not intentionally looking at what you've already done and just building off of that? Like, it sounds like you're drawing from new places all the time.
They are from new places.
For 20 years without internet. It's built up.
He was bored.
I'm still bored. Well, it happens that, and this is one of those things that I was thinking when people ask me, what would be like an advice to new people that want to do this kind of stuff or want to work in creating characters? First of all, you have to understand. Well, they don't have to understand, but I'm going to tell them where creativity comes from. It comes from one place, boredom, and another place, limitations. If you are limited to, somebody says, you can make anything you want, you're automatically stuck.
Yes.
You don't know what the fuck to. You don't know what you can make anything.
It's too broad. You're drowning in a pool of imagination.
So you have to limit yourself. You have to say, okay, I'm going to create a character, and you have to start like, okay, male or female. Male. Human or animal. Animal. And you kind of have to limit yourself to the point that you get to enough information that will give you an idea. So, after creating, look, I started with a male human, and then I did a minotaur. Okay. And then the next month, because I used to create 2 a month, the next month I thought, okay, now I'm going to do a female. And then I thought, I'm going to create another monster. And then I started running out of ideas. I don't have any ideas. So you start going to the monster manuals. You start going to D&D. Then you go to Pathfinder monster manuals, and then you start running out of. Then you come to the conclusion that you don't actually have that many options, and it looks like you do, but you actually don't, because visually, and especially without painting, you start running out of creative options because they all kind of look pasty gray. And what's the difference between a half elf and an elf?
Valid question.
Blood.
Half orc, and orc is. It's just a design. So So it gets to a point that you start looking for different things. And yeah, a lot of the times I'd be in panic. I would be like, I don't know what to do. And I had like 10 days to sculpt 2 swap minis. And I'd be like, I don't know what am I going to create. So, watch a movie, watch a show, watch a cartoon. And you think, oh, that's a cool idea. I wonder if D&D has that. Or I wonder. And then I started running away from D&D and just going into role-playing games in general.
Yeah.
And
as is the entire community. Yeah.
Yep. Fuck those.
yeah, and you actually asked me a question earlier about what was the gaming scene, or what was in Portugal. I got to a point, because I was working by myself, that I felt lonely.
Mm-hmm.
I was bored but lonely, and I needed someone to help spark some of this creativity. And I felt that although I create things for board game, for role-playing games, I don't actually play them. I don't have time. I used to play them when I was young, but I don't play them now. I don't have time. I'm like full of work. So I reconnected with a local club. It's a no-profit gaming club.
Yeah.
And I decided to give something back to the community. I decided, you know what, I'm going to connect with them. They have like workshops, painting workshops with minis, and I started sponsoring the mini itself, the printing, the actual resin print is not a big investment on my part. It's the creativity, it's the shipping, it's the packaging, it's all that.
It's your time.
Yeah. So I started sponsoring the games, not the games, the workshops, the painting workshops. And sometimes they'd ask me, oh, what do you want in return? Do you want like publicity? I'm sure you can like post it, but mostly what I wanted to do was just reconnect with the community of it. Because I felt like I was like no man is an island.
Yeah.
I was island man.
Island man. You're quite the resume of mans over there.
At least you weren't a sea man.
Well, I got on my boat, man, and I avoided having to swim in the sea, man. So this has just gone downhill.
And that's it. Thanks for joining.
That's 2025 starting right there. So the bar is really low.
That's
You know
what
what?
I like to exist, because then you can only succeed.
That's why we set ourselves up for success last year.
We were planning ahead.
Yeah.
We're
So,
already
yeah,
infinitely times better than we were last year.
We're
So
streaming.
yeah, I started giving them minis for their workshops, but you were asking me something I didn't actually get to the answer, which was the interesting part of it. Okay, truth is, sometimes I just pull them out of my butt. The ideas, Rat Man. Okay, I'm gonna do a Rat Man. I'm gonna just create a cool name and what is he gonna look like? Oh, sewers, a rat sewer, and then it goes that way. Like when I create a character. When I created the first wizard, I thought, okay, he has to be like the standard, the generic wizard. So in the beginning, like 3-4 years ago, I started with the generic types of characters. And then after that, I started mixing it up a bit. But the cool thing is, a lot of them have my own little not private jokes, but my private...
Your own little Easter eggs.
Yeah, my own little Easter eggs. There's one that's a necromancer. He's like a skeleton guy. I don't know his name.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of characters. I can't remember them all. He's a necromancer or something. Whatever. But one of the versions, I got carried away, and I thought, oh yeah, this is going to be my little tribute to Skeletor. So I had made a little Skeletor head version for him.
Nice.
There's another one which is like a skeleton king. I actually created a helmet. Was my tribute to Judge Death from Judge Dredd comics.
Okay.
Judge Dredd, right?
Yeah.
There's another character. I don't know if you guys know. That's Judge Death, which is basically like a zombie version of Judge Dredd with a.
Okay.
So yeah, that was my tribute to that.
I love that.
Homage.
The lion guy, I ended up doing my Lion-O from Thundercat's head.
Of course.
My barbarian guy, there was one that I actually cut his hair just like He-Man. So I have my little Easter eggs that I like to. He looked weird.
That's fantastic, though.
It was great in the 80s. It doesn't work now.
I don't know. I think
the
we all
one guy that notices, he's like, "Fuck yeah!"
So yeah, I mean the rabbit folk. I
We might be losing you a little bit.
I forget his name. You losing me?
We made it so far.
Okay, now we hear you. 1 second. I'm going to hide you and bring you back. And
Can you hear me?
Yes.
The Rabbit Folk Samurai was based on, was inspired on a character. I don't remember his name now. I'm very bad with names.
Sames.
I
mixed up my
a samurai rabbit.
There was like a samurai rabbit cartoon I used to watch as a kid.
That's the one.
I'm with you. Exactly what you're seeing.
I forgot his name.
So basically,
look
around you and
I take these ideas
and pull from the things that you already enjoy. I'm kind of speaking to all of you maybe listening at home. They're looking for that inspiration, looking to accomplished artists like yourselves to help inspire them to level up their game. And on that note, as we're coming to the close of our stream, it's so easy for so many creators or dreamers to look at what you've created and think, well, I could never do that. So talk to that person and think and kind of offer them some encouragement, whether it is printing minis or it's whatever their art form is. What kind of encouragement would you give to somebody that's looking to at least go to the field that you're going into?
Well, give me a second. The Usagi Chronicles was the rabbit samurai.
Oh, I was right. Okay.
He was right.
Yeah.
Put that in the chat.
There was a
Nice.
crossover with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles not too long ago, and it was on the tip of my brain.
I didn't want to actually I met the author. I don't know his name. I forgot his name again. He was in the Comic-Con here in Portugal a couple of years ago, and I actually met him, and I did tell him that, thank you for your inspiration. You did inspire me to create. I didn't try to copy him or anyway, but my character was inspired in this.
That's awesome.
So what would I say to all these aspiring artists? It's complicated. Well, one, get bored. Get bored. Don't always look for stimulation, or don't always look for. You need time to chew things up, digest them, and vomit your ideas. And I think the world we live in today, you don't have time to think about things. Everything's in a rush, and you do want to be successful and quickly, and it doesn't work that way. You have to take time to be creative. Use the tools, all the tools at your availability, but use your creativity. It's hard to be original and do your own thing all the time. Sometimes we do have to compromise because we know something sells more, or that is the reality of things. Sometimes you do have to look what the market wants and what it doesn't want. But ultimately, although I don't always do it, but ultimately I do believe that everyone should create what they want, how they want it. There will be a market for it. Unfortunately, your builds don't always come with the same time frame as your dreams. So another thing is never stop learning. And now more than ever, the internet changes, the tools changes, the programs change, the social medias change. Everything changes very quickly. So you have to keep up. You don't have to learn everything about everything, but you have to be hungry to learn. You have to. There's a lot of things out there. In my day, we had to photocopy books, and I had photocopies of photocopies of photocopies of photocopies that was my version of D&D. I had a photocopy of a photo. There were parts I couldn't read anymore because people didn't know if you take photocopies of a photocopy. Then if you do that enough times, you'll have a white piece of paper at the end.
Right.
Do I have to explain what a photocopy is?
No, I hope not. And if you do, did you ask your parents if you could watch this?
I think they don't call it photocopies in the United States. It's they use a Xerox. They're used to Xerox things,
Maybe they did in
right?
the 80s. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Sure.
Well, basically, it's tutorials. There's a ton of things out there and free. There's like a ton of
Yeah.
people. There are so many artists that are doing tutorials on their Patreons, and a lot of the stuff is free. Some of the stuff is like $5 for a whole month subscription. There's a lot of thing out there. If you want to learn
From
how
a
to sculpt in
corporation, you can
ZBrush,
steal for them for free.
what?
I said, if it's a corporation, you can steal from them for free.
Doesn't count.
Doesn't count.
Mm-mm.
But even nowadays, the subscription to software, because I'm the generation, I shouldn't say this, but buying having an official license of Photoshop was really expensive. It was
I don't
really
even think
expensive
you
back
can
then.
technically buy licenses anymore. I think they only
Well,
do
you
subscription services.
yeah, you subscribe now for like $20 to $25
Yep.
a month,
Yeah.
and yeah, there's so much going on now that you can, but you have to know that there are no excuses. You have to put in the work. Gifts are not given. You have to work to get your gift. And the more you chew up, you have to have a lot of pop culture. You have to read a lot of books, see a lot of movies, see a lot of pictures, see a lot of artists. You have to put in things in what I usually say is you got to fill the bucket so you can take out of the bucket.
Yeah.
So
So that's your excuse,
50%
kids.
is
Go to the movies, play all the video games, play all the TTRPGs, read all the comics, because you're filling your bucket. You're not rotting your mind.
But then you got to take from the bucket. Can't just fill. You also got to take from the bucket.
then you gotta sit down, turn off all those distractions, and actually do the work. But
Yeah.
I mean, you'll figure it out.
I'm good at that.
Anybody
that
that's
second part's where I really struggle.
taking out of the bucket.
No. It's the part where I actually got to do the work.
Yep. I
can help.
theory.
Well, there is one thing I can also have to say is, don't be too hard on yourself, because we always want to do the perfect thing right now, and I've struggled a lot my whole life with creativity, and when you work with companies that have deadlines, you learn to respect your deadlines and not always fulfill them with everything that you wanted to do. But fulfilling deadlines are important. So you end up living this frustration that you never managed to do what you want, how you wanted it.
Mhm.
But you can always do that for the next one, and the
Mhm.
next one, and the next one. And you constantly live in this frustration of, oh yeah, I've got to do. But every once in a while, there is one character or one creation that you think, wow, I really like this one. I don't know who did this. That is great when you can look at your own creation and leave yourself and look at it and think, I don't know who did this, because I don't know what I was on that day.
It could not have been me.
But
when you
that
finally
lasts for
get past your own doubts of your own abilities and find like that next level that you accidentally gained enough XP to get to in the process. That's exciting.
But it doesn't last long, because the next one you do is also really exciting, and then you look back. But sometimes it happens that I when I'm packaging, sometimes I'm doing like the printing, and I'm shipping it out, and I'm checking all the pieces and parts, and I stop and I look at an old swap mini that I did mini that I did like 3 years ago, and I look and I think, oh wow, I really like the pose. It's really cool, because you forget all these I mean, under my belt, I've got 300 characters total. I don't know, more.
Yeah. I come from a theater background, and one thing that we would encourage like our students, and it kind of goes along the same line, is like you might be performing in a scene and really love how it felt and everything locked in and you were present and you really connected with your scene partner. But then the worst thing you can do when performing that scene again is try to recreate what you just did, because then you just completely ignore and miss out on the beautiful moments of that moment. And
you can't
so
force a moment. You can't force a thing.
No.
It's just got to be
art.
This moment was beautiful. Oh.
Well, with that, please tell all the folks the best place and ways to support you, because if they're not rushing to do so by now, after they get bored and they think on it, they will.
Well, I'll keep it simple. If you go to my Instagram, there is it's not a link tree, it's a card or whatever. So it has all the links, and you can then just follow
Also in
me
the
with
chat.
what yeah, that's it. You can follow whatever you want, wherever you want. So if you like physical minis, it's got the links there to my store. If you like the digital to print yourself, it's got all the links to my Kickstarters, my frontiers from my manufacturing store. If you follow me on Instagram, I am going to be promoting more of my personal stuff, which is Nato late. But that's just my own personal artist page that I'm trying to promote now. So yeah, I mean, that's basically it. It's just one place that you can find all the links that you need.
Perfect. And if you're watching this back, either on YouTube or on podcast listening, all those links, that link to all of those different spaces will be available in the description below. Give it a click. At the very least, go follow his journey on his Instagram, and so you can drool over it while you're scrolling while pooping.
Can I just take just one more minute? Just one more idea. I don't know where my Patreon's going. I don't know what I'm going to be doing in the future. I'm like in a transition phase. One of the things that I would really like to do, and hopefully people are interested in that, this is something that I do want to do, is start creating these, not the amount of characters, but one character, 2 characters a month, where I could actually create the figure, the illustration of like a poster, like an illustration that you can actually buy as a print. And whoever wants to print that, they can also print the background and actually have the figure 3D printed with the mini poster behind it.
Oh, cool.
So that is something that I want to do. Basically, like, and I do want to mention my inspiration masters like Frank Frazetta, what he used to do. Imagine that with a physical mini that's been printed and painted, that you actually have a background that you can have in display in your house. And to create that at a level that people actually value the artist and not just the fact that it's 3D printed. So I want to thank you guys for having me here and giving me the opportunity to talk about my process or what I dream to do or how I dream to do it. And yeah, it's always great to feel like what I'm doing is interesting. So
thanks for coming on. Now you're going to make me fucking be a better person this year. And I'm a little bit annoyed by it, but that's my own problem, not yours.
No, and I find that with every Geek Out Sesh, it's so much more interesting, like we were saying pre-stream, that we're not here just to like highlight what's available through you, but to really get to know the artist, the creator, the author, because that is what's more meaningful and honestly motivating for all of us in this community. And it's going to hit home in 1,000 different ways to 1,000 different people. And you just never know how your journey is impacting somebody. So thank you so much for sharing this time with us. We're definitely going to be keeping watch on you and supporting however we can. So don't be mad if we spam your content on our stories and share and all those kinds of things, because this has been a fucking delight.
Well, one of those things is, and that's another thing I just like to put out there, because there's a lot of things to say this. There are a lot of good artists out there. Some of them are not good at marketing their stuff. And some of them, like me on Patreon, I'm not good at promoting myself on my own marketing platforms, on my own social medias. I'm good at sculpting. I love doing it. And sometimes I think, I have to hire someone to do all this shitty part of the marketing, because I know how to do it, but it's very hard, especially when life gets in the way, because life gets in the way constantly. Things happen. I mean, shitty things happen, good things happen. And it's hard to convey that to your fan base or to your followers, whatever, and expect them to keep following you and supporting you, and make them and having a lot of people understand, but a lot of people don't care if that there's a person behind us. We're not a factory, we're not a brand that's just making a product.
Right.
So yeah, just be a little bit more active and proactive with your whoever you're following, because a kind word for them will go a long way, and you have no idea how much power you have in influencing whoever you're following. A like, a comment, sharing content to someone else, it can make their day. And sometimes I have like 2,000 something people following on Instagram, and I don't know who they are, and I feel like I have to get it out of them.
Yep.
Well, you have the power to make those artists feel better and create more and better for you.
Exactly.
That was a
So do
beautiful
your
moment.
part. That was a beautiful
Do your
moment.
part. Just like,
He says, what I just said was
subscribe.
beautiful.
Oh, this is. I mean, oh,
Hit that,
oh,
smash that subscribe button.
oh. You guys are amazing. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. And thank you all of who joined us in the chat today, whether you're live or you're watching back. That means a lot, and it goes a long way, not only for us, but also for all the great geeks that we get to highlight. Keep coming back, ideally every Monday at 8:30 Eastern Standard, where we'll have a new geek guest and just get to know another amazing soul in this community and hopefully inspire you to keep geeking out in your own ways. And then if you are into the CTRPG nonsense, go ahead and check out. We've got several playlists on our YouTube and podcast of our past actual play. Right now, we're working through Fate Core with Cloudscape. There will be new episodes coming soon, and we've also done City of Mist, which TDM'd. It was a great time, and then some other
Really
D&D
falls apart at the end. Just forewarning.
No. But that's just something that we love to do. It doesn't highlight other geeks in the same way, even though that Cloudscape is collaborating with some other great content creators in their own way who offer their time and characters and imagination to the story. So check that out if you just need something fun to listen to. It's been so much fun. But until next time, I am Bozer.
I'm T.
Oh no, he's muted or quiet. Say that again.
No,
Oh,
I'm Nato.
There
There
it is.
And you just keep
Geeking out.
geeking out.
Geeking out.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.